शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मायं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतापदकमलम् श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवं श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं स्वावधूतं परिजनासाहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोस्तुते। तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
Thank you very much, bro. Okay, can we start the class? Kritika Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Okay, Dandavat Mataji. Okay, I'll read the Sanskrit and the English translation. You can read the purport.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Rishibir Bahuda Gitam Chandobi Vividhai Prithak Brahma Sutra Padashaiva Hetu Madbhir Vinishchitai. That knowledge of the field of activities and of the knower of activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings. It is especially presented in the Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning as to cause and effect.
Hare Krishna, purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is the highest authority in explaining this knowledge. Still, as a matter of course, learned scholars and standard authorities always gives evidence from previous authorities. Krishna is explaining this most controversial point regarding the duality and the non-duality of the soul and the supersoul by referring to the scripture, the Vedanta, which is accepted as authority. First, he says, this is according to different sages. As far as the sages are concerned, beside himself, Vasudeva, the author of Vedanta Sutra, is a great sage. And in the Vedanta Sutra, duality is perfectly explained. And Vyasadeva's father, Parashara, is also a great sage. And he writes in his books of religiosity, Aham Tvam Cha Tanhaye. We, you, I, and the various other living entities are all transcendental although in the material bodies. Now we are fallen into the ways of the three modes of material nature according to our different karma. As such, some are on higher levels and some are in lower nature. The higher and lower nature exists due to the ignorance and being manifested in an infinite number of living entities. But the super soul, which is infallible, is uncontaminated by the three qualities of nature and is transcendental. Similarly, in the original Vedas, a distinction between the soul, the super soul, and the body is made, especially in the Katha Upanishad. There are many great sages who have explained this. The Parashara is considered principal among them. The word Chandogya refers to the various Vedic literature. The Taittiriya Upanishad, for example, which is the branch of Yajurveda, describes nature, the living entity, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As stated before, Kshetra is the field of activities, and there are two kinds of Kshetrajna, the individual living entity and the Supreme Living Entity. As stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.9, Brahma Pancham Pratishtha, there is manifestation of Supreme Lord's energy known as Anyamaya, dependence upon food for existence. This is materialistic realization of the Supreme. Then in Pranamaya, after realizing the Supreme Absolute Truth in food, one can realize the Absolute Truth in the living symptoms of life forms. In Jnanamaya, realization extends beyond the living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing. Then there is Brahman realization called Vijnanamaya, in which the living entity's mind and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity itself. The next and the supreme stage is Anandamaya, realization of all blissful nature. Thus, there are 5 stages of Brahman realization, which are called Brahma Puch Pancham. One of these, the first 3, Anyamaya, Pranamaya, and Jnanamaya, involves the fields of activities of the living entities. Transcendental to all these fields of activities is the Supreme Lord, who is called the Anandamaya. The Vedanta Sutra also describes the Supreme by saying, Anandamayo Bhashyat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is by nature full of joy. To enjoy his transcendental bliss, he expands into Vijnanamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamaya, Annamaya. In the field of activities, the living entity is considered to be the enjoyer, and different from him is the Anandamaya. That means that if the living entity decides to enjoy in dovetailing himself with the Anandamaya, then he becomes perfect. This is the real picture of the Supreme Lord as the supreme knower of the field. The living entity as the subordinate knower and the nature of the field of activities. One has to search for this truth in the Vedanta Sutra or Brahma Sutra. It is mentioned here that the codes of Brahma Sutra are very nicely arranged according to the cause and effects. Some of the sutras or aphorisms are Na Vidyat Ashruteha 2.3.2, Natmas Shrute 2.3.18, and Paratu Tat Charute 2.3.40. The first aphorism indicates the field of activities, the second indicates the living entity, and the third indicates the Supreme Lord, the Saman, Gunam, among all manifestations of various entities. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. It's a very powerful verse and a beautiful verse. Here, Krishna is saying that, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna. Now you'll find, before we go into this verse, 13th chapter is not an easy chapter. Because if you don't know some of these technical words and explanations, you will not understand the 13th chapter. That's why Srila Prabhupada is called this chapter in 3 words: nature, enjoyer, and consciousness. So it's also called Kshetraguna Yoga in Sanskrit. Anyway, the verse for today is that knowledge of the field of activities and the knower of the activities is described by various sages in various Vedic writings, is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra with all reasoning to cause and effect. So if I were to ask the question, who is speaking this verse? Anybody likes to answer?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Lord Krishna is asking this.
He's not asking, he's speaking. So who is speaking?
He is speaking.
Yes, Kritika Bhadaji.
He's speaking to Arjuna, Prabhuji.
So it's Krishna speaking. But
Krishna
you find
speaking.
something very strange in this verse. He's quoting Vedic scriptures. He's saying, is especially presented in Vedanta Sutra. So though Krishna knows everything, and he himself had said he will say it in the 15th chapter, Vedese sarvam aham eva vedyo. Of all the Vedas I am to be known, I am the knower of the Vedas, and I am the writer of the Vedas. So in other words, Krishna does not need to quote, but as an etiquette, is presenting the scriptures as per Vedanta Sutra. It means he's giving an authority. Like still, some of us are people outside ISKCON, they'll say, no, I think it is like that. I think it is like that. And Prabhupada never liked this. Prabhupada says, when you speak something, especially from scriptures, or if you want to present the truth in any way, then you must quote where it is written. So Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is quoting Vedanta Sutra. Okay, this is the important part of this verse. Now let's go to the points. The point Srila Prabhupada is saying that if you understand Mayavadi philosophy, Mayavadis say there's nothing like super soul. They don't believe in 2 souls. They only believe in 1 soul. And that even they say, oh, once we get knowledge, then we become super soul. So this kind of philosophy has no reasoning, has no basis, and is nowhere written in the scriptures. It's very, very clear that one can never become super soul. One remains always the soul. And even when he returns back home, back to Godhead, he still retains that individuality. I think this point is very clear, yeah? So one should not be cheated by Mayavadi philosophy. Mayavadi philosophy means making everything, we call it khichdi. Khichdi means all cooked together. We don't need to cook. Krishna himself is quoting that it is here written in Vedanta Sutra. So the important thing is one should not be cheated by Mayavadi philosophy. If you remember earlier in the 2nd chapter, Prabhupada quotes this very famous verse he quotes in many of his lectures. Nitya nityanam chetnas chetnadam. Eka bahunam vidadati kaman. I am Nitya. Krishna says, I am Nitya, means I am individual. You are also individual. Krishna tells Arjuna. I am Chetan, means I am living, and you are also living. But I am one living entity giving life to so many living entities. And I am conscious, and I am giving consciousness to so many conscious beings. I am individual, and you also are individuals. So Krishna is a singular person, one person, giving life to everyone, giving individuality to everyone. So one should not become confused, because otherwise you'll never understand this chapter. And once there's a very famous conversation between Srila Prabhupada and one of the lectures in India. I don't know which city or which town it was, but there was a very big argument, and with some Indian man. It says that Kshetragna means, now before we come to know the word Kshetragna, we should know two words, Kshetra, Kshetragna. The actual Sanskrit translation is Kshetra, Kshetragna. Now, Kshetra in the simple language, even in Gujarati or Hindi, means a farm. And the knower of the farm is the farmer. I think that explanation is clear. So Kshetra refers to the body. This is the body. And this is called the field of activities. That's why it's called Kshetra. And one who knows this body is called Kshetragna. That is written in the beginning of the chapter. And as we perceive, just verse earlier, just go back. Verse number 3, it says, O Scion of Bharata. Would somebody like to read this verse? They can read. Kritika Mataji, you can read the verse in English.
Prabhuji, which one? Sorry.
Verse number 3, same chapter. Just 2 pages earlier.
The Sanskrit, Prabhuji?
No, the English.
The English.
Or if you want to read the Sanskrit, it's okay also. You can read the Sanskrit, it's also.
O sign of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower of all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. This is my opinion.
Yeah, so if you go to Sanskrit, it says, Kshetragnam chapi mam vidi sarva kshetreshu bharata. He says very clear, there is not only you the knower of the body, even I am the knower of your body. For example, I am sitting here in Nairobi. Many of you are hearing the class, like we have Path Prabhu, we have Kritika Mataji, then we have some devotees from Eldoret. Now everyone is hearing, and also many others. Now each one is an individuality. Now, for example, I'll give you a very simple example and have a look at me. If I pinch my part here, who is feeling the pain?
You are feeling the pain.
Are all of you feeling the pain?
No, Prabhuji.
No. So Kshetragna means I know that I have pain here. If I pinch myself, I prick a pin here. But Krishna can feel the pain of every living entity. That is the meaning. It's the big difference. We can feel pain and pleasure of ourselves, or each living entity can feel pain and pleasure of himself or herself, or even an insect or an animal, everyone. But when you say Krishna, he feels pain and pleasure of every living entity throughout the creation. This is the greatness of Krishna. That's why he says, Kshetre Grancha Mam Vipi Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata, in the verse number 3. So I think now Srila Prabhupada gives the analogy that Kshetra means like a farm. Kshetragna means the farmer. Okay, let's go a little more deeper. And when you say a king knows all the farms in the country. Am I right or wrong? He knows all the lands in the country. So who is the super knower? Is it the farmer or is it the king?
King.
The king.
Who knows more?
The king.
Yes. So super soul can be compared to the king. Then we can say the super soul within our heart can be compared to the farmer, and the body can be compared to the farm. So farm, the soul means the farmer, and the super soul can be compared to the king. So if you understand these 3 words, Kshetra, Kshetragna, it means 2 Kshetragnas. Who are the 2 Kshetragnas, or the knower of the Kshetra? One is the farmer and another is the king. Like in Kenya also, if you want to buy land and if you want to do any research, then there is an office called Sharia House. The lands office. And if you have the plot number, then you can get a map of it. And you can even know how many years it has been leased for. And that means the government has all the land belongs to the government. And when you say you may be buying one piece of land, or you may be buying 10 pieces of land, but still the government is always a super owner. You're not a super owner. You're just an ordinary owner. And whatever you do on the farm or on the land, that is called the field of activities. I think now it's clear. Khetra, Khetragna. So there are two Khetragna, soul and the super soul. So in this lecture, when the lecture finished, I think there was a Mayavadi in that lecture, and he was speaking in a very rough language, first of all. He didn't even know English properly, but he was just arguing. He's telling Prabhupada, but Khetragna means only one. And Prabhupada says, I am showing you the verse Khetragna. And it's true. Krishna is saying very clear that you are also the Nora, but I am the Nora of all the body. But he did not agree. And he argued for more than 15 minutes. And in that lecture, if you notice, Srila Prabhupada actually becomes angry and tells him that you are a fool and you'll always remain a fool. So this is the way Srila Prabhupada explains to him. So we should not be cheated by this Mayavadi philosophy. One farmer cannot become the owner of all the farms in the whole country. That is the meaning. Okay, so Kshetragna, Kshetra, Kshetragna. And so two Kshetragna refers to us or the soul and also Krishna. Krishna knows knowledge, happiness, distress, everything, past, present, future of every living entity. He says this in a couple of verses in Bhagavad Gita. I know past, present, and future. Even Arjuna is told in the 4th chapter, when Arjuna raises a question about how come you spoke, how can I believe that you spoke this Bhagavad Gita to Sun God? And what was the answer of Arjuna? Anybody recalls? Anybody recalls? What reply did Krishna give? Vishal, do you remember? No reply?
Bahujanma Vyatitan.
Yes, Path Prabhu. Okay. Krishna says, many, many births you have taken, many, many births I have taken many, many births you have taken. You do not remember any one of them, I remember all of them. It means Krishna has history of all of us. Krishna is not an ordinary being like us. That's why he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the similar way, we should understand that if you go back again to chapter 2, the Bhagavad Gita teachings start in the verse number 12 of chapter 2. This is the first teaching of Krishna to Arjuna. When Arjuna says, now you please teach me. So this is the opening verse. The English translation, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor in future will all these kings cease to be. It means three things. Three different entities. Krishna, Arjuna, and the kings. We were there, we are here, and we will be there. I hope you remember this verse. If you don't remember, just write it so you can read that verse again. Very, very powerful verse, which also indirectly says the eternity of the soul, and eternity of Krishna, and the eternity of all the people who took part in Mahabharata war. So he says, the jivas or the we living entities fall down due to our past karma being associated with the three modes of nature. As soon as we perform any activity, we accrue karma. Karma means any activity you do, there is a bondage, something holding you, or something which is going to drag behind you. This is the meaning of the word karma. Some of the children, they played a game known as dominoes. You know dominoes? You push one and then all of them will fall in a line, one by one by one. But if he doesn't push the first one, the others are not going to fall. The karma means the moment you do that, there is going to be a reaction. Or another example is, if anyone of you is playing cricket or badminton, then if you have a ball in your hand, if you hit it slow, the ball will just fall very close. If you hit it very hard, it will go very far. So every karma means every action has an equal resultant reaction. And these reactions, they catch us and they take us from life to life to life. Till this karma is not clear, we cannot get moksha. Moksha means we cannot go back to Krishna. So the jivas fall as per one's karma. Now, what is knowledge? Knowledge means to know three things. Now, in this particular purport, at least 4 times Prabhupada has repeated the same truth. One is what is body, what is soul, and what is super soul. 3 things. Who knows 3 things and their relationships is a knowledgeable person. One who does not know these things is not a knowledgeable person. Sri Prabhupada, when he was studying in the Scottish schools, Scottish college, in his younger days, once the teacher said that you Hindus, you believe in karma, but when you do karma and the reaction, who is the witness? Of course, Prabhupada was very small at that time. He didn't have the answer. But then Prabhupada got the answer that there are so many witnesses. The witness in the daytime is the sun, at night is the moon, stars, 10 directions, up in the sky, many entities, many planets, and down in the earth, some more living entities. And besides that, the super soul within the heart. It means there are so many witnesses to our karma. You cannot cheat the government of Krishna. You may cheat any government in the country you're living, but not Krishna. You can't cheat him. He has every record. He's just someone, a demigod. Did he do like this? And a demigod will say, yes, on this particular day, he did this. This is how a karma will follow us wherever we go. If you want to come out of this karma clean, then easy answer is to understand 3 things: body, soul, and super soul. Super soul means the representation of Krishna, which means, in other words, is also Krishna. If you have this knowledge, and if you act according to that knowledge, then all the karma is clear. Karma is so good. In the 4th chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna, the knowledge is so powerful that it clears, it burns away all your sinful reactions. Chanakya Pandit says a beautiful line. I'll read that line. The lining is, learning is like a cow of desire. A cow of desire means Kamadenu. Now this cow, actually she comes with you. Whenever you're in need of milk, she will give you. That means if you are a learned person, and she'll give you milk in all seasons. It means in difficult times, even in bright times. And like a mother, it feeds you throughout the journey of your life. Therefore, learning is a hidden treasure. Chanakya Pandit says this. More you learn, it is good for you. Of course, people learn today, but it is material knowledge. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Jada Vidya. Jada means materialistic knowledge, which is nothing but a burden on your head. If you have this knowledge is good, maybe you can earn money with that, but nothing more than that. You need to have spiritual knowledge, material knowledge and spiritual knowledge. That is a clear knowledge. Like in the 7th chapter, Krishna, while instructing Arjuna, he says, I'm going to give you the knowledge of phenomenal world and noumenal world. Phenomenal world means what you see and understand. And noumenal world is something which is not in front of you, but it is still there. So if you boil this down, 2 kinds of knowledge: knowledge of matter and knowledge of spirit. You can't say I have knowledge of matter. If you don't have knowledge of spirit, it means you have no knowledge. Your knowledge is like as good as no knowledge. You know, Gujarati, those who are Gujarati speaking, they say, Bonelo, Boganelo, Nati. He's learned, but he's a fool. Sometimes the parents say like that you learned a lot in the school, but your behavior is not good. It means you do have no spiritual knowledge. So, this is what Chanakya Pandit is trying to say. So here, Sri Prabhupada says, Chandobi. The actual translation is Chandobi. Chandobi means so many Vedic scriptures will teach you the same knowledge. The 2 Kshetra gunas, soul and super soul. And the relationship with the body. Body, you should know, is asat. Asat means temporary. It's going to dwindle and die. And if you are too attached to your body, then it's foolishness. The attachment should be to the owner of the body, who is the soul. And the one who is accompanying the soul is the super soul. So this is the main philosophy in this. We should understand this particular verse. And as we go further, Sri Prabhupada says, as the knowledge develops, then your understanding goes higher and higher and higher. So I've written on the small board. I don't know if you can see. Can you see from there? The first one is called Annamaya. You find, if you remember, that when we were all babies, we used to eat. Whether it's food or not a food, we'll put everything in the mouth. This is the beginning of knowledge. Am I right or wrong? If you have a baby, you have an experience. Whatever she gives, if she sees anything colorful, she wants to put in the mouth. It means Annamaya is the first understanding of God. Because as a man grows up, he understands that without food, nobody can live. Anna means food. And Anna actually means grains, not meat. You cannot survive without what do you call Anna. Yes, you can survive with the meat, but food, which is pure, is grains, plants, vegetables. We are just discussing with Lavanga Prabhu. He was given a Bible, and he showed me a verse number 28 in the Genesis. He says, God created herbs as meat for man. Herbs means plants and trees. In other words, according to biblical understanding, this particular, when you say this particular verse means that originally all man and most animals were vegetarians. Later on, they became meat eaters. Because biblical instruction does not tell you that you can eat, you can slaughter animals. Nowhere is written like that. So it was a very nice discussion. Anyway, the first one is Annamaya. Annamaya means subsistence on food or dependence on food, first knowledge. The second knowledge is called Pranamaya. Now, later on, you realize after eating, I'm getting these life symptoms, happiness, distress, and you see your relatives, your family members, your father and mother, they're all living. Why? Because they have prana. So that is called Prana Maya. This is the second understanding. Now let's go to the third understanding, Jnana Maya. Jnana Maya, when you have three divisions in you, thinking, feeling, willing. When you have the capacity to think or feel, or you have a willing to do or a desire to do something, you know that if my mind is with me, I can do anything. So you need the support of your mind. So with the support of the mind, when you get that understanding, that is called Jnana Maya. Now let's go fourth one. Fourth one is called Vijnana Maya. Vijnana Maya means knowledge of the absolute truth. Now, when you start absolute truth, is called Jnana. Brahman means absolute truth. So if you start understanding absolute truth, that there is something superior, you may or may not be knowing. So that is called, what do you call? Jnana Maya. Sorry, Vijnana Maya. Formerly used Jnana. The fourth one is Vijnana Maya. Okay? And the fifth one is when you understand Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you get so much happiness. That is called Anandamaya. Anandamaya means if you understand Krishna, you'll be happy all the time. For example, just recently, you're hearing Bhakti Deva Damodar Maharaj, and you're saying that anyone who knows Krishna and he does not forget Krishna, he'll be the happiest person, which is true. Very simple. Once you know Krishna, there'll be happiness. So I'll repeat them. The knowledge of understanding that we are dependent on food, that is called Annamaya. Anna means food. Pranamaya means you see different kind of jivas and the life symptoms. That is called Pranamaya. Jnanamaya means thinking, feeling, willing. It means you come to understand your mind. Vijnanamaya means knowledge of Brahma. Brahman means absolute truth. And understanding Anandamaya means knowledge of Supreme Personality Godhead, Krishna. And Krishna is full of pleasure. Here Prabhupada says, in many times, in many purports and lectures, Anandamayo Vyasat Abhyasat. Have you seen that line in the purport? So he's full of pleasure. So I'll ask a very simple question. If Krishna is a happy person, are we supposed to be happy or miserable? Who wants to try this answer?
Will be happy.
Yes, we are meant to be happy all the time.
Yeah.
Now the second question, why we are not happy?
Because we
Why?
forgot Krishna.
Yes, due to forgetfulness of Krishna. Krishna bhulya jiva
Bhagavancha kare.
bhagavancha kare, and the other one is that samsare dukkha. The moment he forgets Krishna, then the samsara will give you, Krishna bhuli sei jiva anadi bahirmukha ataiva maraya tare teya sansare dukkha, samsara dukkha. The moment a jiva or a living entity forgets Krishna, then Maya will give you dukkha, distress in your samsara, in your whole of your life. So you'll find that any living entity who forgets Krishna, he is going to suffer and suffer. Even after getting all the wealth of the world, all the material happiness of the world, a man can never be happy. But upon remembrance of Krishna, upon remembrance of one's connection or relationship with Krishna, all the happiness comes back. So it's very easy. Srila Prabhupada says, what is the mission of Krishna consciousness? Is to give this relationship or explain to people who have forgotten, or all the jivas, that please, all of you belong to Krishna. And Krishna says that all of you belong to me. Then everyone can be happy. The whole world can be happy. So if we want sickness, real happiness, we should seek for Krishna. This is our duty. And seeking Krishna, the first method of seeking Krishna is to chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Hare.
This is the beginning of understanding Krishna. Without this, the spiritual life cannot begin. And rather to be more sharper in this statement, first of all, you have to hear this Mahamantra. Hearing Mahamantra means when you're chanting, your duty is to hear it. If you hear, then the effect follows, and the effect will come on you. And then as you do it, you remember Krishna. And as soon as you remember Krishna, then all the miseries of your life will go away. Even the difficult time of your life will be seen as a pleasure. So this is the science of Krishna consciousness. So in short, Krishna is quoting Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra, when you say Brahma Sutra, is another name of Vedanta Sutra. And we know that Vedanta Sutra, very first verse is the same Srimad Bhagavatam first verse. That Krishna is the creator, maintainer, and destroyer. In very short, and let me meditate upon him. This is the first verse of Vedanta Sutra and Srimad Bhagavatam. So here we learn today three things. Three things are very important in the purport. Field of activities, which means the body. Jiva means the living entity. And the third one is Krishna, the Supreme Lord, or the Samam Bonam. Krishna is everything. You find that Srila Prabhupada says the 10th canto means Samam Bonam. Krishna is everything. And that's why the knowledge of Krishna is very important. And that we also learn Khetra. Khetra means the body. Khetra Gna are two. Soul means us, and the super soul means give, means the Krishna. I gave the example of the farmer, the king. Now here, the word Parashar has been mentioned. Have you seen the word Parashar? Parashar is the name of the sage. And he was already quoted earlier in the second chapter. Parashar Mani is the one who gives the definition of the word Bhagavan. Bhagavan means Aishwarasya, Samagrasya, Viryasya, Yashashriya, Jnana, Vairagya. Jnana and Vairagya. Sanadim Bhaga Itigana. Anyone who has these 6 qualities in full is Bhagavan, and that is Krishna. This verse is spoken by Parashar, and Parashar happens to be the father of Vyasdev. Parashar, through Satyavati, gave a birth to a child who was born on an island, and upon taking birth, he started walking, and that was Vyasdev. Vyasdev is not an ordinary person, empowered by Krishna, or is Krishna himself, and he is the one who wrote all our books, and these are the books we are reading and understanding. That's why Srila Prabhupada says we are obliged to him. When we learn any Vedic scriptures or any scripture of the world, originally the author is always Vyasadev. From Vyasadev comes so much knowledge, so you're indebted to him. So if you don't engage in devotional service, this rena means obligation, will never go. So we have to practice Krishna consciousness, follow Krishna consciousness, so you get the blessings of Vyasadev and also his father, Parashar Muni. That's why in this particular verse, Krishna says that, especially presented in Vedanta Sutra, no of the activities is described by various sages, especially these 2 sages, Vyasadev and what we call Parashar Muni. So these are 2 great sages from whom so many things have come. Vyasadev, Parashar Muni put this knowledge into Vyasadev. And Vyasadev, the mission of his life was to write all the scriptures. Because when he took birth, upon taking birth, he did not stay with the mother. He started walking, just like Sukadeva Goswami. And when his mother said, son, come and look at me, at least show me your face. He says, mother, I don't have time. I have a lot of work to do. That is Vyasadev. And then mother asked the second question, what happens if I am in difficulty? And Vyasadev says, you just utter my name. He says, I don't even know your name. He said, my name is Vyas. You just say Vyas, I will appear to you. And later on, when Mother Satyavati was in anxiety, she remembered her son before her marriage. Because Vyasadev was born before her marriage. Just like in case of Kunti, the son born before marriage was Karna, which she could not forget. She remembered. So Satyavati remembered her son. She summoned Vyas, and Vyasadev came. And she presented her anxiety, and Vyasadev sorted it out. And this is how Mahabharata begins. Hare Krishna. So 40 minutes is already over. Should we put it on again, or should we continue?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, maybe are there any questions or comments? Prabhuji, if there are no questions and comments, we can continue, but Divyesh Prabhuji has a question. Divyesh Prabhuji, kindly unmute and ask your question, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Divyesh.
Good. I have a question. So it says here that Lord Krishna is referring to the Vedanta Sutra. So what came first? Did the Vedanta Sutra come before the Bhagavad Gita or what?
Krishna came before Bhagavad Gita and before Vedanta Sutra. But Krishna is still
Krishna
giving a
came
reference.
before that. But is Vedanta Sutra before the Bhagavad Gita?
No, Bhagavad Gita is before Vedanta Sutra.
So if Bhagavad Gita is before Vedanta Sutra,
before Vedanta Sutra, yeah, Vedanta Sutra it was written 5,000 years ago.
But on this Bhagavad Gita verse, if Bhagavad Gita came first, and he's referring to the Vedanta Sutra, that means Vedanta Sutra was written before, no?
No. Vedanta Sutra was written after. Bhagavad Gita was spoken much before Vedanta Sutra. We all know that Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the battlefield, which was more or less a repetition. Originally, Bhagavad Gita was already spoken to son called Vibhashwan, which is mentioned in the 4th chapter.
Okay, so my question is in verse,
Evam Rajashayo Gudu. Yeah, your question is?
On this verse, look, the Lord Krishna says it is especially presented in the Vedanta Sutra. So
Yes.
with all reasoning as to cause and effect. Now, if the Vedanta Sutra, Bhagavad Gita was written before the Vedanta Sutra, why is Lord Krishna referring to the Vedanta Sutra here? How?
Well, for example, if I tell you that if you want to learn biology, then you go to primary school. You can even go to secondary school. But if you want to learn biology in detail, then you go to a university. You understand the meaning? Bhagavad Gita is in a very short course, but the same knowledge you can go to Vedanta Sutra. For example, this 13th chapter, if you want to know in detail, you have to go to Vedanta Sutra. That does not make Bhagavad Gita smaller, but Bhagavad Gita is the footing, and it is the same knowledge is expanded in the Vedanta Sutra and also Srimad Bhagavatam. For example, if you go to Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a story of Puranjan. If you read the story of Puranjan, you can understand soul, body, soul, super soul, and many, many other things. Srimad
So,
Bhagavatam
Prabhu,
is a natural commentary.
my question is this: in the right now, Lord Krishna, when he was speaking the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedanta Sutra wasn't there, correct?
Yes.
So then, why is he referring to it whilst he's speaking of it?
Referring means he's giving a quotation that I am telling you this, but you can read this or understand. You can understand this by referring to Vedanta Sutra.
I think I'm a bit confused. What I'm saying is, when Lord Krishna was saying the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedanta Sutra wasn't there, correct?
It was not there.
So
but
why
it was already there with Vyasdev. No. When Bhagavad Gita was being spoken, Vedanta Sutra was already there with Vyasdev.
Oh, it was with Vyasadeva. Okay, fine.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So
and
it was there.
In other words, it was already there with Parashar Muni.
Okay. I understand now.
Okay, now you have two references, not just Vyasdev, but also Parashar Muni.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Very clear. Thank you, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. Prabhuji, what is the Vedanta Sutra?
Vedanta Sutra is the final writing of Vyasdev. If you go to the first chapter, first canto, I think it's the 5th chapter, if I'm not wrong, when Vyasdev is not happy after writing all the books, including Vedanta Sutra. And then he remembers his spiritual master. And now Muni comes, the spiritual master of Vyasdev. And he says, after doing all that work, thousands and thousands of verses, I still feeling not happy. He knew the answer, but it's like something was missing. For example, a good mother, when she's cooking sweet rice, and by mistake, she forgets sugar. And later on, she'll remember, oh, something, I'm not very happy. I forgot to put something. And then she remembers, oh, if I forget to put the sugar inside. In the similar way, Vyasdev forgot the sweetness in the Vedanta Sutra. And Narada Muni pointed out his mistake. Of course, the answer was not very, very good to hear. Vyasdev was told that you've written all this, but you have put people into a mess. You taught people how to remain bonded by teaching them dharma, artha, kama. About moksha, you've written in an impersonal way. But it's better you write the glorification of devotional service and glorification of the Supreme Lord. Then he wrote, after Vedanta Sutra, the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra is called Srimad Bhagavatam. Is it clear now, Parthaprabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Is it clear?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, Vedanta Sutra is the conclusion of Vedanta Sutra is to Srimad Bhagavatam. So it means
no. Conclusion of Vedas is Vedanta Sutra. Conclusion of Vedas is Vedanta Sutra. Veda Anta.
Anta, yes.
And then the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra is Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay.
For example, if you go to university, every subject, you can even get a guide for it. You know, guide? Guide means it makes it easy. In the similar way, if you say Srimad Bhagavatam is a guide to understand Vedanta Sutra, because Vedanta Sutra is very difficult to understand. If you read Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll understand Vedanta Sutra. For example, in movement, I'll give you another example. I have realized myself that there's a book called Science of Self-Realization. How many of you have read it?
Yes,
By
we read.
Prabhupada. Okay, now if you have read Science of Self-Realization, then you read Bhagavad Gita, it becomes very easy. If you read Bhagavad Gita straight, it's very difficult. So Prabhupada has made things very easy by presenting same Bhagavad Gita in smaller books. So when you read smaller books like Raj Vidya means 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That is called Raj Vidya. Book called Raj Vidya, or the King of Knowledge. In this way, when you say SSR, Science of Self-Realization, has 8 sections. What is soul? What is super soul? What is Krishna? What is Bhagavad Gita? What is the Guru? And many, many things. Each section, if you understand very thoroughly, you understand the mood and the writing of Prabhupada. And then you read Bhagavad Gita, it's very easy to understand. But many people say, no, I want to read Bhagavad Gita straight. It becomes difficult. I myself have that experience. Because formerly, 1980s and 90s, when you used to go for books distribution, when there were not many restrictions, you can go into any house and distribute a book. Now, the watchman will not even let you in Nairobi. So when you go with books, then when I used to look at the Science of Self-Realization, I used to say, seems to be the most boring book. But for the sake of distributing, I used to distribute. But the day I opened and read it, then I realized, no, my whole understanding was wrong. After reading, I realized it's such a sweet book. So nice, so simple to understand, so clear. So I regret that I actually underestimated this book called SSR. Now it's one of my favorite books. Okay. Any other question?
Yes, Prabhuji. In this purport, there is a last stanza. There is mentioned like a 2.3.2. It is a na vidya asmaya. What is this verse?
Okay, three things that is in the last paragraph. Okay. See, in the last paragraph it says some of the sutras of the aphorisms. See, sutras means scriptures, lines. Sutras means lines, like this cloth. It is sutras going upwards, up to down, and side to side. Sutras means like that. There are 3 aphorisms. Na viyad ashrute. The second is natma shrute and paratu chat shrute. Here the Prabhupada is already giving the definition. The first aphorism indicates the field of activities, which means the body, khetra. If you have a pencil, you can write in your book. The first one means khetra. The second means khetra guna. And the third indicates second khetra guna, or the samambomam, which is Krishna. Is it clear? 3 truths.
Yeah. Yes, 3 truths. Yeah. Or it is written in the Brahma Sutra.
It is written in the Brahma Sutra, means Vedanta Sutra. Brahma Sutra is another name of Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is also called Brahma Sutra.
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
Prabhuji, clear. Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So if you have a pencil in your hand like me, you can write 3 here. 3 truths. Write 3. Body, soul, super soul. You never make a mistake again. And that is the title of this chapter. Nature, enjoy consciousness. Okay, any more questions?
Body, soul, and super soul.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, there are no more questions.
Okay, Ezekiel, no question. Ezekiel is very quiet. Oh, he's feeling tired and sleepy. No question, Prabhu?
Prabhu, should I ask you?
No question, Prabhu.
I want
Okay,
to
thank
ask.
you.
Prabhuji, Urmila Prabhuji, Mataji wants to ask a question.
Okay, yes, okay. Go ahead.
Prabhu, does it mean that Vedanta Sutra was with Vyas and Gita was already spoken before and after Does it mean that way?
No, I already answered you that Gita was originally spoken to Sun God in the 4th chapter.
Yeah.
Bhagavad Gita was spoken, it means Bhagavad Gita was already there with Krishna millions of years ago. And Vedanta Sutra came much, much later. Because Vyasdev, when he wrote everything in the end, in the concluding verses, he wrote the Vedanta Sutra. Veda Anta. Anta means end. That means all the Vedas, he wrote the Anta. And even after writing that, he was not happy. And that is why Narad Muni said, in that Vedanta Sutra, you not glorify the Supreme Person, who is Krishna, in his various avatars and various leelas, means activities. Without these activities, it's like food without taste. No taste. That's why he wrote down Srimad Bhagavatam, and then he was happy. And the immediate effect of writing Srimad Bhagavatam, that he saw Krishna. And along with Krishna, he also saw Maya. Maya means the illusory energy, who was very much shy of Krishna. You can read this in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, Urmila Mataji?
Yeah, I understood now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpa tarubhasya kripa sindhavaiva cha
Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namah.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
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 Rukma Das Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.